Well, welcome again, everybody. I'm still Jay. I'm still a veteran in long-term recovery. I'd like to welcome our honored guests, our family and friends, to Confidential Recovery's 10th year anniversary. Thank you very much. Fan favorite. And then also, this is the launch of our nonprofit, the Veterans Navigation Center. And we'll talk a little bit about that as we go through this evening's event. We're delighted to have you here to help us celebrate our success and also to lay groundwork for the future so we can work together as part of a integrated network of community partners helping all San Diegans and especially San Diego's veterans. I'd like to introduce our CEO and founder, Scott Silverman. Scott, if you would join me at the podium.
Well, it's really nice to see everyone here tonight, and I just wanted to take a moment and pause and watch my social media guy panic and go, oh my God, did he forget what he was going to say? And I didn't want to write anything down because I wanted to get a feeling for the evening, and I'm hungry and I can't eat when I'm getting ready to speak. And I also haven't had a microphone in my face in a long time, and I hope it looks good on me. I, like Jay, want to welcome all of you tonight, and thank you very much for carving out some time. And know that, you know, tonight's, it's free, and free is my second favorite F word. So eat all you can, don't leave anything behind, and we saw you all sign up, so yeah, we'll be in touch with love in our heart. So Confidential Recovery started 10 years ago, and it really started, well, I talked to my wife and I said, Michelle, what do you think about starting a treatment center? And she said the same thing to me that night that she had sent to me 20 years prior when I said, I want to start a nonprofit. And her response was, you have no idea how to run a treatment center. And when you get that from the love of your life, you take that in a special way. And I'm fortunate she's here tonight and keeps on pushing me in a very unusual way. So we started because I'm a guy in long-term recovery. And I got tired of going to funerals. And I think that there's always hope and help, but I see families in distress and stress all the time. So I found a way to get it going, got certified by the state of California, got in network with insurance company, nearly lost my sobriety trying to make it happen. But I found over the years, you know, when I connected with Jay, there's a population I haven't really focused on, and that was veterans. So can I quickly see a show of hands? How many of you are veterans here tonight? And thank you for your service. Watching people change through the process of recovery is something that I look forward to every day. I'm also an interventionist and a family navigator and a crisis coach. So what that means is I get some of the most unusual phone calls from families. And to be able to say that we can help you, and we promise if we can't help you, we'll find someone who can. And if you talk to some of the folks that, if they're willing to talk with you, that have been through our program, they'll tell you, you know, we are not benefits driven. We don't rely on the insurance companies to extend the treatment that we need for them. We find ways to work harder and smarter. You know, we need fees to pay staff, but we don't push people unless they're ready. So part of the excitement for us tonight is to talk about Veterans Navigation Center, VNC we call it. We've looked around the country, we've talked to the experts, and there is no model like this, where a veteran can call and listen to someone at the other end of the phone who has lived experience, and then help them answer the questions they have, find the path they need, and be supportive of what they want and how they do it. Now, there are hundreds of veterans organizations in our community that do a lot of work. But what we do, we think is unique. Thanks, Jason. He doesn't like the red, white, and blue tonight, but you know, the way things are going, I understand that. It'll change soon. So we wanted to come up with an idea, Jay and I and the team, that would really work quickly. So when you call us, We're going to get you hooked up with appropriate services, the right kind of wraparound needs, over to the right kind of medical support. Behavioral health may be beyond our expertise or need a higher need, and then you're going to get going on your path. We like to believe that we meet everybody where they're at, no matter who you are, no matter how you're dressed, no matter what kind of car you have, and you come here on the bus, ride on a pony, we're going to do everything we can to help you. I think it's important for me as the founder is to say thank you. So I want to say thank you to all of you. So please give yourselves a hand for all you're doing, what you've done, and what we know you're going to do. Thank you. So you're going to hear from some political, legislative leaders, their staff tonight. You're going to hear from our person who has some things to say. We can't call him a keynote because he volunteered his time. Our retired hero of mine, Mr. Bill Gore, in just a few minutes. But right now I'm going to shut up. And please, by the way, again, do not let these caterers take anything out of here. So if you have to, put stuff in your pants, roll it in your shirt, put it in your goodie bag, leave nothing behind. Well, maybe it's some for the staff for the rest of the week. But again, I'm going to turn it back over to Jay, and he's going to bring up the other VIPs. And again, enjoy your dinner. Thanks for being here. And I'll be back up here in a few minutes. Appreciate it.
Well, as Scott alluded to, we have a guest who's going to talk a little bit about his experience, in particular with confidential recovery, because he was here when we opened 10 years ago. So he has evidence that we've actually been in operation for 10 years. That's good. And evidence is probably an appropriate word to welcome our former sheriff, Bill Gore, who's going to say a few things about his perspective. Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you, Jay. They asked me if I wanted to be a keynote speaker, and I said, I stopped that 2 years. I don't do keynotes, I do comments, so take that for what it's worth. This will be comments from, after talking with Rocky Heron, I kind of changed everything I was going to say here tonight. Rock, if you don't know him, is former DEA, and kind of talk about confidential recovery and substance abuse from a law enforcement perspective, which is what I did for 52 years, 33 in the FBI and then 20 with the Sheriff's Department. And I think when you talk to knowing people in law enforcement, FBI agents, DEA, local cops, they know we're not going to enforce our way out of this drug problem. I'm not saying we legalize drugs. That's the wrong avenue. I think we keep the pressure on the drug dealers. But the only way we're really going to solve this problem in this country is by lowering the demand for the product and getting people sober and keeping them sober that are involved with their various substances, whether it's alcohol or drugs. And that's why I appreciate so much my personal hero. He called me a hero, it embarrasses me, Scott Silverman. He's dedicated his life, his 40 years of sobriety. Talk about somebody that gives back. I want to talk a little bit briefly about how I first met Scott. It's probably about 20 years ago, 18 years ago. He was running Second Chance. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Second Chance. Great organization that talks about and deals with a lot of the people that were guests of mine in one of my jails in San Diego County, the formerly incarcerated population, and really with the philosophy of these people need a second chance in life and trying to give them the skills and the abilities to be successful when they come out of jail. About that same time, about 2010, 2009, the state was told by the Supreme Court of the United States, hey, you got too many prisoners in your state prison and you got to downsize. Any elected official, they had 200% overpopulation. They had about 65,000 too many inmates in state prison. Well, you don't get reelected to the state legislature by releasing 60,000 people, so they came up with a law, and they took 60,000 inmates basically and put them in county jails instead of state prisons. Prior to that, if you were convicted of a misdemeanor, a year in jail or less, you went to a county jail. If you were convicted of a felony, a year or more, you went to state prison. That all changed back in 2011. So we ended up getting people sentenced to county jail for 16 years. At the time, the state had a recidivism rate of 73%. That meant within 3 years of getting out of state prison, 73% of those people were back in state prison. We sat down as a public safety community here in San Diego and said, we got to do better. If we have a 73% recidivism rate in the county, we'll bankrupt the county, crime will go through the ceiling, and it just won't work. So we got together, said, how are we going to do this? And one of the first people that came and talked to me was Scott Silverman. He approached me, he approached the district attorney's office, and the chief of police at the time was Bill Lansdowne, and asked us to go on the board of Second Chance. And what we did is tried to incorporate what Second Chance did and does into our programming in our jails, trying to get people, give them the skills and ability, the cognitive behavioral training while in our facilities, and then when they came out, in fact, we had Second Chance in our jails. When they came out, they went into a program in Second Chance and tried to keep them from returning back into our facilities. The last time I looked, when I left the Sheriff's Department about 3 years ago, we'd gone from a 73% recidivism rate at the state level, and the local level we had a 32% recidivism rate. That's unbelievable statistics. And it's because of people like Scott Silverman, the people at Second Chance, we had the National Conflict Resolution Center that came into our facilities, we had the Urban League that came in, all trying to teach these individuals, formerly incarcerated, most of them, how to be good citizens, how to take a job interview, how to be employable. And more importantly, I think we had that thread of cognitive behavioral training that went through from the jails into the programs in the community. Because if you don't take care of the mindset that got him into jail in the first place, all you're going to do if you give him a job is you got a crook now that's got a job. So that's the kind of thread that was critical to all our success. And I thank Scott Silverman, the people at Second Chance, for what they did. And when Scott left Second Chance, he realized that, hey, it's not just the incarcerated people, formerly incarcerated people that have issues with substance abuse. It runs throughout the gamut of our community. Professions, law enforcement, firefighters, doctors, lawyers. I have an EAP program. DA had a DAP, Employee Assistance Program, and the police departments did, looking for ways to get their employees treatment. People that were quote unquote functioning alcoholics or maybe had a substance abuse problem. And there was Scott again, starting Confidential Recovery 10 years ago and offering those resources and dealing with people in the community. I think the last number I saw was over 1,000 successfully treated, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. These are people that impacted. We got people that back are employable, their families are back together, and then there's hundreds of other people that are also benefiting from what Scott and the people at Confidential Recovery did. It's just a tremendous job. I'm excited to be on the board of the Veterans Navigation Center. I think when you see all the organizations out there in the community that are out there to quote unquote serve veterans, there just needs to be a one-stop shop where that veteran goes, picks up the phone and says, I need help, I'm here, I'm there, here's my problem. And I'm hoping that's the service the Veterans Navigation Center is going to perform. If I look at Scott's past track record, this will be successful too, and it will be successful hopefully with your help, your hard work, and maybe some of your generosity in helping us fund this program. So I'm a big supporter of Scott. That was his testimonial. He'll buy me dinner next week. And I thank all you for being here. You're on the right track. This is what we got to do. We got to, instead of putting people in jail, get the resources, the programs, the prevention programs, the treatment programs to keep them out of jail. And God forbid they end up in jail, then have those wraparound services when they come out so they don't come right back into our facilities. And that's what Scott, Second Chance, Confidential Recovery, and the Veterans Navigation Center are all about. So thank you very much for being here. Hope I didn't take too long, and I appreciate your support. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you very much, Sheriff Gore, not only for your kind words, but for your service to our country and to our county. Thank you very much for that. So the next step in the program is we're going to welcome the Live Well San Diego team. So Marcelo's here, Marcelo Ramirez from the county, and he's going to deliver a proclamation. So Scott, if you wouldn't mind joining us up here. You're much more the face of the organization than me.
Good evening, everybody. How's everyone doing? Very good? Excellent. First, before I give the proclamation, I just want to say how honored I am personally to be amongst giants, really. I'm coming up on 2 years of losing my brother-in-law to the fentanyl epidemic. And just this week, my best friend from high school relapsed, and my other best friend just paid his bail bond right now. And so I always tell people, who are close to me and, in my community, who are afflicted by this epidemic, that you're always worth more than your worst mistake. So I always amplify that message if you want. I'm really glad that this appeared on my calendar today. So with that said, on behalf of Chairwoman Nora Vargas's office, whereas the county acts as both a partner and a backbone organization to the Live Well San Diego vision for a healthy, safe, and thriving San Diego region. Through this work, the county and partners help organizations and individuals make connections and leverage partnerships to increase their impact in the community. And whereas Veterans Navigation Center is an organization, as of now, that is based on veterans helping other veterans to navigate the veteran service community, which includes acquiring benefits, employment, and life skills training, veteran legal services, housing, substance use treatment, and mental health services. And whereas the VNC advocates for helping to create a community of integrated services providers that can seamlessly support veterans to develop comprehensive and personalized strategies to address their unique needs. And VNC is committed to supporting veterans to choose healthy lifestyles in order to improve their mental health and well-being. And VNC helps veterans to become effective, self-sufficient, and contributing members of the San Diego community by encouraging them to stay committed to themselves, their family, and their own recovery. And VNC is committed to connecting veterans directly and quickly with the specific services they need and helping them to utilize these services more effectively in their future. VNC is committed to continuing to advance the regional Live Well San Diego vision in pursuit of a just, sustainable, and resilient future for all. And now, therefore, be it proclaimed by Chairwoman Nora Vargas and all members of the San Diego County Board of Supervisors on this 23rd day of October 2024 that they commend the Veterans Navigation Center for its outstanding service, leadership, and commitment to the health and wellness of county residents, and do hereby declare this day to be Veterans Navigation Center Day throughout San Diego County. Please give it up for VNC, everybody. Day one. Congratulations. Photos. Thanks, Mario.
Right the camera. Of course. Okay. So next up on our program, we have a proclamation from District 3, and Evan Bridgham is here. And I'm going to receive it because I know Evan. Evan has been a wonderful supporter of us. So, Evan, please join us.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Evan Bridgham. I have something that looks quite similar. Thank you all for being here. Again, this is a great organization, both Veteran Navigation Center and Confidential Recovery. District 3 has one of the largest populations of veterans in San Diego County, and so the work that you do is hugely important to not only our district, but San Diego County as a whole. So let me read my proclamation. We're honoring Confidential Recovery's 10th anniversary, whereas Confidential Recovery is an intensive outpatient treatment program that specializes in helping veterans, first responders, and working adults to overcome their struggles with substance abuse and achieve sustainable lifelong recovery, and has been a longtime member of the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs Community Care Network, the San Diego Veterans Coalition, and Live Well San Diego team. And programs are designed to prevent unemployment, homelessness, and criminal behavior, and allow clients to remain living with their families while they work on their recovery, employing the new coping skills they are learning in real time as they walk through the stresses of early recovery. And Confidential Recovery is reaching out to the San Diego community to connect clients with other services to meet emergent needs and overcome real-life problems that could become barriers to their recovery, and is working with fellow public and private providers, leaders, and organizations to help form an integrated network of community partners which provides a seamless continuum of high-quality care and unwavering support to clients needing disparate and coordinated treatment from multiple providers. And whereas the County of San Diego is committed to recognizing and honoring those individuals and organizations that are dedicated to the best ideals of public service, and the Confidential Recovery is one such worthy organization, now be it proclaimed by Chairwoman Nora Vargas and all members of San Diego County Board of Supervisors on this 23rd day of October 2024 that they commend the Confidential Recovery for their outstanding service, leadership, and commitment to the citizens of San Diego County, and do hereby declare this day to be Confidential Recovery Day throughout San Diego County.
So much. Thank you. All right. Gotta get Ron here.
Yeah.
Gotta get Ron.
It's an important day. Favor.
Thank you.
They'll find me. Right down the hall.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. I'll go grab that in a minute. Yeah, Marcelo's just providing evidence that Evan was here for the rest of the Board of Supervisors. That's
Yes.
well done. And thank you again, Evan. Evan has been a longtime supporter. He's been here a couple of times, and District 3 is a supporter of Veterans Navigation Center and has really enabled us to put together a lot of what you see here. So again, thank you for that. So, thank you, Evan. So, we were expecting a proclamation from Scott Peters' office, but I had heard that their representative got delayed. I just want to see if they slipped in while I wasn't looking. I'm going to take that as a no. Okay. And so we also have a certificate from Representative Sarah Jacobs. So Kate Needham-Kano is going to come up. She is also a longtime ally, has been here and has been advising us for quite some time. So Kate, if you wouldn't mind joining me, I'll continue to sing your praises and give you a little time, because she has been a very good partner. So thank you, Kate.
Hi, everybody. Very happy to be here on behalf of Congresswoman Jacobs and as a veteran myself with a parent who's also in active addiction currently. So I'm very grateful for everything that you do. And so with that, I am presenting a certificate of special congressional recognition to Confidential Recovery in honor of your 10th anniversary and your continued dedication to serving veterans. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Let's do the hug and let's do the obligatory photo op. So I guess I should put this up. Okay, that's good.
Oh, more? Oh boy.
more evidence. This is good.
Jurisdictional camaraderie.
Yes.
Federal and local cooperation. Thank you so much. I'll get that from you. Local and federal cooperation. I love it.
It's about.
All agencies working together. So, now we would like to talk about what really makes Confidential Recovery a special place. And I truly believe that it is a special place. It's not the location, although that helps. It's not the counselors, although they help. It's the clients. It's the folks who come here and come together to support each other in their recovery. And so, I hope that this is a call to action for everyone, not just to hear the stories and the folks who are going to share their hope, strength, and experience with you, but a call to action for how we move forward from here. How do we take this message to the community? How do we spread the word that recovery is possible and there's a place that can help you? Scott has said many times, and because he said it many times, I can now plagiarize legally. The three hardest words in the English language are "I need help." Those are especially hard for veterans. And so we want to make it clear that you can say, "I need help," and there's a place that you can go where that help is readily available. And it's going to come from a fellow veteran. So The first person I'd like to bring up is one of our alumni, Rick Taylor. He's going to come and tell a little bit about his story. I won't tell it for him, but he's going to briefly let you know what his experience here has been like. Rick.
Good evening, everyone. I've made some quick notes so I don't. I have a tendency to hold court or a revival meeting, depending on my mood. So I was reminded several times, 3 to 5 minutes. So I will do my best to stick to that. First of all, thank you, Mr. Silverman. Thank you for building a place of healing. You know, never knew something like this existed. Tell you a little bit about myself. First of all, my sobriety date is June 24th, 2021. For those counting, my friend Shannon, 3 years, 3 months, and 27 days as of today. And I feel confident that I will make that full 27th day because of everything that I've learned here and with my compatriots and with the counselors here. A little bit about myself. Like many of us veterans, I grew up in a small town. I was looking for a way to kind of get out of that. And I grew up in a generation where there was no stigma about drinking, because at least we weren't those druggers over there. Ridiculous. But it took me a long time to figure out that wasn't, that my own paradigms need to be challenged. And then I joined a venerable organization that definitely celebrates drinking, the United States Marine Corps. And boy, did we celebrate. So I did that for just a little bit, about 26 years, and retired in 2017 and found myself, I'm feeding back a little here, and found myself in a place that I hadn't been in probably my entire life, lost and alone. I didn't have a purpose. I didn't have a mission. Yes, I had my family. Yes, I had I decided to, come out of retirement and start another career. But I didn't have anything keeping me on the ground. So I sought solace elsewhere. And my drug of choice is alcohol. But even then, even all those years of hard drinking, I was still able to really be successful. I thought I was and proof's in the pudding. I had a great career. I thought I was a good leader. I was told so, and so all of that behavior was reinforced because I could do it drunk a lot. But now I don't have a purpose. I'm stuck out on my own without a tribe and without a direction. So we all have a bottom, as we say, for those of us in recovery. I feel now that mine was pretty high and it was a pretty soft landing, but I was getting ready to lose everything that I'd worked so hard for, including my family, my reputation, my children's respect and love. And so I said the 3 hardest words. I called the VA and told them I needed help. And as I'm driving down the 5 freeway, bawling my eyes out, tough guy, right? Asking the nurse for help, she said, "Let me ask you some questions, I'll get back to you." 2 days later, I got a call back with a diagnosis. And as a trained substance abuse counselor myself, I understood exactly what those words meant. And so I ended up in an IOP. But at the time, for those of us that fondly remember the early 2020s, everything the VA offered, all of the government help, was via video teleconference and Zoom and all those. I felt I was in too deep. She gave me another option. She gave me an address and a name. She gave me Jay and confidential recovery. So I show up here. And boy, what an odd place for a Marine to be. Touching and feeling and getting to our feelings, and I didn't even know what any of this really meant. And I consider myself above average intelligence, maybe. All Marines kind of do. We all think we're smart. Fairly sophisticated in the ways of the world, but boy, I didn't know what I was in. I don't know what I was in for. So I opened up my mind and I opened up my heart. and I realized that, one, I am not special. There are many like me from all walks of life, because the first thing I hear when I sat in my first meeting after Jay gave me the tour were stories that were my own, coming from people that were so dissimilar to me that I would have never met them in regular life. But I'm hearing my story come out of their mouth. A young lady that is not even an alcoholic, but addicted to drugs, and I hear my struggles in her voice. How can that be? Because the second thing I learned is I'm not alone. So I did 6 months of treatment, and I was not ready to get released into the wild, so I requested another 6 months. I wasn't ready to go. It took me 35 years to get here. 6 months of a few nights a week wasn't going to do it, so I stayed on. And then after that 1 year, I said, I'm not leaving. So we formed the alumni group, where we get to still meet, stay in contact, keep up with our brothers, which many of the folks here you see you're with, and continue to heal, because this journey is a lifetime journey. And even though it's one day at a time, each of those days brings something new, something challenging, but something that we can overcome together. And that's what we've found here. So my emotional vocabulary, for those that are familiar with Marines, had a lot of guttural sounds like and raw. I see the Marines laughing because you know exactly what I'm talking about. And basically every emotional response was anger. Like, I'm so effing proud of you. Get out of my face. Like, yeah, that's a great kid. Odd behaviors, but one that I had grown up in. The first thing I started doing, with the help of a lot of the counselors here, Marissa, I'm looking at you, is starting to develop an emotional vocabulary. I'm not mad at the guy that cut me off. I'm afraid. I'm scared because he got in my lane. You know, I'm not ashamed necessarily. I'm afraid of losing what I have, you know, and so I would fight back. So I gained that. Next thing is I gained emotional regulation. Still working on it, but I've got it. And I'm at a point now at just over 3 where I can say I truly have some personal peace. For the first time in a very long time, I'm actively fighting my demons and all my experiences, as you can imagine, over the last, our country's history, from 1990 until now. It's been pretty tough, but I'm working on it every day, and I can't thank you guys enough. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rick. That's just a taste of his story, but he has been a stalwart, and he's giving back, meeting our new generation of veterans, and thank you for sharing your story. So next up is a fellow sailor, Shannon. He's going to talk about his experiences here.
All right, good evening. Yeah, thank you guys for joining us tonight. This is a packed house, I see. Great representation of what's going on here, and I appreciate, again, Scott Silverman and Jay Wylie for, putting all this together, and we can celebrate 10 years of recovery. I mean, I wish I could say that my life was easy, I think a lot of us say that, right? That we just had the easy road and we got here the easy way. But I'm starting to understand. I'm a little older now. I'm starting to understand that you have to pay for things in life. There's no free meal ticket, right? You have to get here one way or the other. So I came here. I didn't have a winning ticket. I didn't win the lotto. What happened essentially March 21st, 2021, smack dab in the middle of COVID, I found myself, after 15 years of doing AA, doing the token every year, no drinking. After 15 years of that, 2017, I relapsed, and it was hard. This is coming from a kid who idolized. Does anyone know Hunter S. Thompson? I have a quote here if you don't know. We were somewhere around Barstow on the edge of the desert when the drugs began to take hold. When I read that, that's like an opening to Fear and Loathing, right? When I read that, I was like, wow, that really talks to me. I can really get into this guy who likes to get loaded and just push everything out, right? And I knew my whole life that I wasn't like you, because I when I drank or when I took a drug, it fed something, right? Yeah, I just wanted to keep going, and it was insatiable. I understood what an alcoholic is, right? But I wasn't that. I was something more. I can control this. I had control. So that's what I spent my life essentially trying to do, is keep that control. So, but after 15 years of being sober, I found myself, 2017, I decided I'd take my 15-year chip, turn it in, and see what I can get at the bar. It wasn't good. Yeah, it took 4 years before March 21st, 2021, I found myself splayed out in an intersection, blacked out, my motorcycle by me, not knowing what the heck happened. I did some really poor math that day. I think I wrote it down. Let me see. It involves something like all day drinking, no meals, working in the sun all day. It was bad math. Yeah, it led me to shiny handcuffs and the police telling me that I need to stay the night in jail. I had no idea what I had done. I had never been in that position, and up to that point, I had never been to jail. I didn't know what was going on, but luckily, since it was the middle of COVID, they're like, we can't keep you in the holding cell. We're gonna have to let you go, Mr. Crawford. So, escorted me out, and I just remember going home to my wife, opening up the door 4:00 in the morning. And we're both in tears, and I was just saying, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I really messed up, and I don't know what I'm gonna do. I have no idea. I've been working. Rick was mentioning IOP. It's intensive outpatient program, if you didn't know, and that's where a lot of us alcoholics or addicts will go for a 30-day detox type program, try to understand what's going on, try to get a grip of our drinking or drugging. And I had tried 4 or 5 different IOPs in that 4 years. I worked with the VA. They were giving up on me. They were saying, if you don't come in to a inpatient program, we're just gonna have to, give up on this the idea of you becoming sober. So it sounds cliche, but that was the best thing to have happened to me, to have woken up, come to my senses in that middle of that intersection, and seeing the police, doing the whole deal, doing the sobriety tests. It's all just, you see it on TV, but when you're actually going through it, you're like, it's happening. It's go time, right? And I remember at the time, I'm thinking, I got this. Again, I'm in control. I can fool the police and thinking that I'm sober the whole time, all the way into jail. Even I'm thinking, if I don't talk, if I don't say a word, maybe the Sheriff Gore would know better. If I don't say anything, they have nothing on me. Yeah, they pull the warrants. They got me really good. They got me in a nine-month DUI program. Took my license away for a year. I mean, all this is great. I mean, this is the best thing that can happen to me, because I'm like, this is it. This is how it's gonna. This is my bottom. Because before I didn't believe I had a bottom. Like Rick was so glad that he had a high bottom. Where now, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, this is my bottom. I finally have a bottom, people. So I called up the VA the next day. I'm just, I'm so hungover. I'm so confused. I don't know what a DUI involves. They give me like a packet of paperwork, and I'm calling numbers. And again, I don't know if you guys know this, but those numbers lead you to a never-ending menu of choices. I couldn't talk to anyone. I'm just hungover and confused, and I'm like crying, So I call the VA. They like, COVID. We don't have it was once a week type deal on Zoom. It wasn't working. But there is this new group that's starting up that will give you approval if you're interested. You might have to work with civilians. There might be women there. Again, Rick kept referring to gentlemen, but I'll say men and women. There's civilians and women if you're all right with that. I'm like, 6 years Navy, I can handle a few women and a few civilians. I think I got this, right? So thank goodness I started, I think, April 29th of 2021. Masked up, came in, got the tour from Jay. And as he's taking me around, it's a Thursday night, I recall, he's like, okay, so you're staying tonight, right? I'm like, I guess it's 6 o'clock at night. And he's like, yeah, because we go like 6 to 9 every night from Monday through Thursday. I'm like, this is gonna be every day essentially. I have to come here for 3 hours. This is how we're gonna get sober. He's like, yeah, we got some. You can talk to Soleil about doing some meditation and clearing of the mind. We have yoga. We can work with Callie. We do some stretches. I'm like, this sounds delightful, but 3 hours every night. Okay. All right. It worked. It was the best thing, again, aside from waking up in the middle of an intersection, the best thing that happened to me. I give it all to Scott and Jay for putting it all together, for sticking with it for 10 years. I know it hasn't been easy, especially through COVID. We were showing up some nights, masked up. I think sometimes I was outnumbered by counselors. There was probably 2 clients and 5 counselors. But, Greg, my counselor, got me through, putting a plan together. What happens if you have thoughts, if you relapse? Who are you going to call, right, Greg? So we worked out a plan. It's been 3 years, 7 months, 1 day. I think that translates to 1,311 days for you. If you enjoy eating crayons, that's what they do. They count days. That's where I am today. Happily married. It's been over 21 years. Again, I almost tore my family apart. We're this close to being separated. Have 2 beautiful teenage daughters, 16, 18. My oldest is going to San Diego State. Youngest is a good junior student. And, before it was like they were so worried about just bringing their friends over, what I was going to turn into. Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde type thing. When I drank, I didn't know. Who knew? The family's great. I'm, happily employed career. Have a retirement. Retirement's coming. I'm saving up. In therapy. I've never had a therapist before. It's wonderful. If you don't have one, I highly recommend it, at least for me. If I can end it with this, growing old is mandatory. I look around, I see a couple of us who have some gray hair, but I have to say growing up is optional. Let's have fun. Again, thank you so much. I appreciate you letting me talk. Have a good night. Peace out.
Thank you, Shannon. You've been another stalwart of our program, and like Rick, giving back to all the veterans who are here now. And to wrap it up, Scott asked me to tell my story. It kind of reflects the confidential recovery in the Veterans Navigation Center story. So I wanted to be a military officer since I was about 7 years old. And I did everything I could to get an ROTC scholarship. I didn't drink or do any drugs in middle school, high school. And I got one. And I got off to college. And now I'm in college, I can do what I saw my heroes do, right? My heroes growing up were guys like John Wayne and James Bond, and especially Pappy Boyington. I don't know if you know who Pappy Boyington is, but he's one of us alcoholics. He was. But I saw my heroes drink, and I wanted to be like them. So when I got to college, I could drink, and I was going to. And if I'm being rigorously honest, the real reason I took my first drink was because there was a senior girl who thought it would be fun to get the freshmen drunk, and I had a little crush on her. So I drank anything that she put in my hand. I wound up throwing up over her balcony into the apartment below, so I don't think I impressed her very much, but I didn't care because I had found this magical potion that made everything okay. And that was the start of my drinking career. Well, I went off, got into the fleet, and all of a sudden I realized, hey, this Navy business is for real. You know, people get hurt, and there's people depending on me, right? And now I'm in charge of these sailors who I'm falling in love with, who I want to kill or die for. And I have to be on for them. And I discovered two things about myself. And I didn't realize this till later, but the two things are, I have two main character defects, fear and perfectionism. I was afraid of failing. I wasn't afraid of getting hurt or getting killed, but I was afraid of letting those guys down. I was afraid of failing at the mission. And I have perfectionism. I hold myself to a standard that no human could possibly meet. So my life became this cycle of fearing failing at an evolution or a mission, doing the mission evolution, actually having it go pretty well, but thinking about the 5 or 10% that weren't perfect, and having guilt, shame, and remorse, and beating myself up about it. And that cycle went over and over and over again. And the only way I knew how to turn that off was drinking. It also helped with the bad things that you see sometimes in military service. It helped turn that off, and it helped keep me going. So I did that. And the funny thing was, I was actually pretty good at my job. So I kept getting promoted. So I kept getting more responsibility. And that made it worse and worse and worse. And I had to drink more and more and more to deal with it. Well, like I said, I was pretty good at my job, and I wound up being the commanding officer of a guided missile destroyer. I took that destroyer on a 7-month deployment. We fought pirates, we fought terrorists, we rescued 55 mariners at sea, and every one of my sailors came home with the same number of fingers and toes that they deployed with. I was very, very proud of that. But when my sailors found out I liked to drink, I never had an empty hand. And I got myself into a crazy amount of trouble, and I ended up having to leave the Navy rather abruptly and in an unplanned way. Turns out the Navy really doesn't like drunk destroyer captains. Who knew? But, like Shannon said, that was the best thing that ever happened to me, because that's what it took to get me sober. And that got introduced to the 12-step community, and in fact, I went to the Navy's substance abuse rehabilitation program, did 20 days outpatient program, and I met Scott in recovery, and I decided, I'm going to stop trying to figure out what I want to do when I grow up. I'm going to try and figure out what God wants me to do when I grow up. For a lot of us in the military is it's not a job, it's not a career, it's our identity, it's our mission, it's our purpose. And I had lost my mission, my purpose, and my identity, like a lot of veterans do when they come out into the real world. So I turned to recovery to help me find a new purpose. And that new purpose is to use my sad story, my bad story, to help others to recover. Scott approached me and said, Jay, you speak veteran. Can you help me get connected with the VA? And so I came on board. We connected with the VA. They were very suspicious at first. And we showed them our credentials. We had all of our accreditations and things of that sort. They did a tour of our facility. At the end of the tour, the division chief turned to me and said, Jay, I have a wait list of 13 veterans. How fast can you take them? And I looked at her and I said, well, we have a group at 6. And that's what it started. We tripled in size almost overnight, and we've never stopped. And now we see anywhere between 20 and 60 veterans a week at Confidential Recovery. Now, it turns out that many veterans, when they come to us with a substance use disorder, it's not their only problem. I like to joke that getting sober is kind of like driving a station wagon down the freeway. You get all your stuff in the back. Driving down the freeway, you get about 30 days sobriety, it's like slamming on the brakes and all that other stuff comes flying forward, and you got to deal with that too. We tried to help our veterans in every way we could. We joined the San Diego Veterans Coalition. We tried to connect with other services. We got to meet a lot of different departments at the VA, and we said, how can you help our veteran with legal issues or other behavioral health support or other services? It was very ad hoc. And we said, how can we do this better? Now, the other thing that happened at the same time was Rick and Shannon and his compatriots staged a coup. And they basically said, we're not leaving. And we thought that's a really good idea. And that's how we started the alumni group. And like Rick says, now once a week, our former veterans can come and they can stay connected. And then once a month, we hold a barbecue where our alumni veterans get to meet our new clients and share their hope, strength, and experience. And those two things came together, and we said, gosh, what if we took these alumni veterans and trained them to be peer support specialists? And then they could be a navigator that could help a veteran from the community who calls in navigate the veteran community and find the services that they need. But more importantly, to join our small but growing community of veterans in recovery, and to have someone who would be a companion, a sponsor, a wingman, a battle buddy, and would stay alongside that person. So if they're getting discouraged, or they're hitting brick walls, or they're getting confused, they'd have someone they could talk to. They'd have someone they could check in with. And we could find other solutions for them, and we could follow up with them. A lot of times when we talk to veterans, we'll say, hey, did you call Joe, the guy I recommended that you call? The answer will be no. And we'll say, well, why didn't you call Joe? And they'll say, because I was scared. And we'll say, that's cool, that's okay, no problem with that. Why don't you come in? Come in, we'll make that call together. I'm going to be sitting right down beside you. And if you hear anything you don't want to hear, I'm going to catch you, because you're not alone anymore. When I was giving tours here, we would have new veterans start on Thursdays. And I gave this veteran a tour who's a Marine fighter pilot from the 70s. He started on Thursday, and then the next Thursday we had another new client. And so we're going around introducing ourselves, going around the room. And this Marine who started the previous Thursday, when he introduces himself, he says, this place has changed my life. And I look at this dude like, what? I didn't pay you. Why are you saying that? How is that possible? You've been here like 3 times. And then he continued. And he had this style where he'd cock his hand back and he'd say, because before I was here, I was alone. And I'm not alone anymore. And the guy sitting right next to him happened to be, well, I don't want to break his anonymity, but his initials are Ricky, sitting right there. And Rick said, yeah, this is a safe place. So that's really our message. And what I'd like to close with is that this is a call to action. This is a call to action because we don't know what we don't know. We'd be the first to admit it. We're just starting out. 10 years is a good start, but it's just starting. We want to get connected with the community. We know the veterans community pretty well. We know the recovery community. We want to introduce those two communities to each other so that they can rapidly find help. But then we want to meet the rest of San Diego. We want to screen people who are seeking services for their veteran status. Have you ever served in the military? Not everybody identifies as a veteran. Some people think they got a bad discharge, they don't get any help. Some people thought, well, I wasn't in combat, I'm not really a veteran. Neither of those statements are true. So we want to make sure that we get the message out to the entire San Diego community that help is available. We want to introduce ourselves, and we want to find out what other resources are out there so that we can connect our veterans with those resources, whatever they happen to be. And so I think that's probably our appeal to you, is to help spread the word about what we're doing here, and tell us about who else is out there doing great work so that we can get to know them as well. Because we want this to be, as has been said a couple of times tonight, we want to create an integrated community of network partners so there can be a seamless handoff from one provider to the next provider to the next provider, so that every San Diegan gets what they need to overcome whatever challenges are in front of them. Our specialty is substance abuse. We try that one, but we don't do a lot of other things that other people do really, really well. And we just want to connect the people we're serving with those other services when they need it. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it. I'd like to invite Scott to come back one more time, just to kind of do our closing remarks, and then we will do our raffle.
So how many are having a good time? Show of hands.
Woo!
All right. Thank you all for hanging out. What I want to do now is, I got a nickname many years ago. It was called the Talking Head. I think it was the sheriff that said, you're just a talking head. So I want to honor the people that really do the work here. The clinicians, the therapists. Can you guys all stand up? Anybody who's working with our clients, anyone who works with our guests. Some are inside. Matt, Lori, Marissa. Thank you guys very much, because really, I don't do a whole lot. I come up with the idea, and then Jay, my brother from another mother, corrects me and tells me where I need to go. And then, I try to bring some of my time and talent to the table as well. And, I've been doing these kind of things a lot over the years, working with different charities that I've started. But I can't tell you I've ever been as excited as I am working with the veterans community. First of all, because the veterans seem to really appreciate and understand what change looks like. And once they get past their ego, which we know is not their amigo, they get entrenched. And I have to correct something Rick said. He said he lives here. Just so you know, for the record, we're an outpatient program, because if you say you live here, we have to get a whole friggin' different permit from the state. And those inspections are very taxing. We have great support at county level, but not at state. They're tough. So it's an honor to work with people who have served, more importantly, to work with their families, and to work with the team that we have. I don't think I've ever worked with a group of people who are as selfless, suffer from high levels, of large levels of integrity, and their willingness to take the phone call, come in early, hug an individual, be present, be willing, and I don't think I've ever heard anybody say no. And I wrote a whole book about it. So it's an honor to be up here representing them as well. And I know that something like this will be a catapult for us to do even more. And having the representatives from the community, legislative leaders, we appreciate that. Because we know how busy you are this time of year. I think it's election time. How many are anxious to get that over with? And it's hard to sit here with a microphone and not get political, but I'm not going to, because I want to honor my guests. So with that, I want to thank you all very much. And we only have one thing left to do, and that's to have the raffle. So we're going to do that in a little bit, and hopefully you all got enough to eat. If not, please, again, put some of those brownies in your pocket. Ron, don't do that, because I know that's the suit you love to wear. But if you want to, grab some stuff, take it with you. Don't leave it here, because we know the team will eat it, and then they'll complain to me that they put on extra pounds. So once again, from my heart to all of yours, thank you very much for being here. And with that, I'll turn it back to Jay. He's going to do the raffle, and hopefully some of you will win some great prizes. Thank you.